Good morning, everyone. Hope you all well. Thank you so much for joining me for another Sunday. This week we're going to be doing some meditations together. So please, if you're in front of your shrine space, that's great. If not, maybe find a quiet place. If you're seated, make sure both feet are on the ground. And I'll give everybody a minute or two to sort of get adjusted. So I hope you all were able to listen to a teaching that was broadcast on Thursday. It's a very key teaching that's given in Tibetan Buddhism, and it's about the very nature of our minds. And when we have an understanding of sort of how we're composed, how our mind is, how our thoughts are, how our emotions are, and how they all sort of stack on top of each other, and how they relate to each other, we start to see a way on how we can live differently. Because the train tracks, which seem very solid in our lives, are not as solid as we think they are. The way we behave, the way we think, the way we act, even our present situations, our work, our family, our homes, may feel very solid. But the thinking and ideas that underline them, which make them come about, or permit them to come about, are not as set. Because we realize there's something underneath all that that is much more fresh and alive. And the rigidity of what lies on top doesn't need to be there. And as it begins to lift, we become lighter energetically. Our body starts healing, and we're able to touch in very much so to the source of life, to our true existence, to our true connections, which, if one believes in God, we would say God, and if one is not spiritual, one would say the universe or existence or life. And with that, we're able to connect to these sort of truths of what life is really about, and to connect deeper with our true selves and make real spiritual progress, make real changes in our lives, improvements in our lives, in our families, in our situations, in our communities, in our world. And this planet very much needs that right now. Our societies very much need that right now. Our personal relationships, for the most part, in some way really need that right now. So I've given some real fundamental teachings, core teachings, but if you haven't had a chance to listen to them, I would highly suggest you do. Not all at once. Please leave a couple days in between each one. But what I really want to highlight, and this is just so important, and I've said it so many times, this podcast, this broadcast, shouldn't just be a source of very interesting, esoteric, high-level information on the nature of ourselves and religion and things like that. They're meant, the teachings, the information I'm sharing is meant to be applied. It's meant to do your practice and your prayers so you start getting a taste and realizing that it's real so it could make changes in your life. Otherwise, it's just ideas and thoughts and knowledge that get filed in the mind. I'm sure they must have some blessing. I know they have a blessing, but because the information itself is a blessing. And it may help the subconscious mind and maybe the conscious mind to a certain extent, but it really doesn't overcome habitual patterns and kind of the spin and movement that our minds continually have. The only way to sort of get underneath that, literally underneath it, is by putting in the time and practicing. Doing these practices that I'm suggesting. There's really no other way. It's like if, well, I guess the example that comes to mind right now, if somebody's really overweight, they have to work on their diet, they have to exercise. Maybe some supplements will help, maybe some medications will help, but they've got to put in the effort and the time to sort of walk that back into a more healthier, sustainable weight. And this is kind of what we're doing. But it's not arduous. It's not a burden, because as one starts to do the work and starts making progress and starts having real realizations, you realize that it's a real magical thing, because ways of perceiving and ways of being that you never imagined start happening in your life. And you realize that the spiritual walk, the spiritual pursuits, religion, is so much more than what we think it is. And when we're actually on that road, it really adds a real sparkle and value to life. It really adds whole other dimensions on living. And then one wants to do it. It's no longer hard. It's no longer, oh God, I've got to go practice and sit and pray now for 30 minutes or an hour, because now, it's no longer a 10, 15-minute thing. Now it's an hour thing. And yes, it does grow in time as you grow in ability. But you look forward to it because you really see how your day is just so much better, how your relationships are so much better, how your state of mind and your emotions are so much better, how you perceive things differently, how you can gauge situations and conversations in a different way and able to navigate them in a different way. These are the real world applications, just a few of them. But also, if you're religious or even just spiritual, you're able to connect with the magic that surrounds us. The world, our animals, the nature. Look, when I did a lot of this work where I learned a lot, I was living in New York City. this city just became magical. It's just a whole different way of just seeing the display of all these different people and the movement, and still finding your place of calm in the middle of all that. It's not as hard as one thinks, but one really begins to wonder what's going on here. And how do I live my life in a more awake and better way? So we're a little bit past half of our 3-month practice. And I really encourage people who haven't started, it's not too late. And for those that are doing it, keep doing it. It's really, I think, one of the best investments of your time and your effort. And it really isn't just like playing tennis, which really is great for playing tennis. And other than the health effects it has on your body and your mind, really doesn't bleed over into a lot of other things. Versus this bleeds over into everything. Everything that you are, into everything that you do and you think, and to help shape what you will become. If this was taught to school kids at a young age and through their education, this world would be a very different place. So why don't we light our candle and put up our incense, and let's do a practice together. It's just kind of relaxing into it and just finding those moments of space and calm. And allow a deeper awareness that lives within to kind of shine forth. It's a deeper place from which to resonate, from which to emanate, a deeper place of being. And it's a place of deep relaxation. So any effort we put is the effort of putting the techniques into action, but often the technique is one of relaxation, which means no effort. But when one begins, that requires a little effort to get into that space. But after a while, you just drop in. After a while, unless you want to, it doesn't require an hour or two. It pops in, and you're able to live in that space as you're walking around. When you're in the middle of a conversation, you could just pop into the space at will. It's a little bit like learning a foreign language. It's a lot at the beginning, but once you get fluency, it just comes out. It becomes part of who you are, part of your communication, part of the way you engage in your life. So these are new skills. I encourage people to try to do it every day or at least 5 times a week. And it becomes easier, it becomes fluid. And then you start seeing the benefits, and then it's very easy to want to do it because you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why didn't I start earlier? And life becomes freer and more enjoyable. So let's do this together. So please stretch out your legs. If anything is stiff, just stretch. When one sometimes sits for a period of time, I love Advil. I find very helpful for sore muscles, because you're learning to sit with a different way with your legs, and that takes time as well. I hope by now people who do this regularly are about at the 45-minute mark, which is really great. You really don't need to go more than 45 minutes to an hour to get the benefits unless you want to. Of course, doing it longer it's a whole other world. But really, if you can do 40 to 50 minutes a day, that's really great. And especially with our daily lives and the commitments we have. You start seeing something happening around 35 minutes of doing these practices. The mind really can't hold itself together if you don't play along with it. It'll just start to slow down. And of course, remember, if you have any psychological issues, to please check with your doctor. And if you feel the effects aren't grounded, then, please stop, slow down, and, check in with someone. All right. Fingertips together. Deep breaths. Feel your spine. Should be straight. You should be comfortable. There are cushions. Make sure you have the right cushions. I'll put some more information on the website about cushions and things this week. And different postures as well. It's very important. So put your awareness to your spine. Just take a deep breath and relax. If you have the capacity, and I'll teach how to do this in the future, maybe in the spring. If you are able to imagine air coming in through your entire body, like your whole skin is sort of like a nose. You could feel that energy coming in through your body, and it really animates the energy of the body, so when you exhale, it releases all of that energy. And it's just a deep sense of relaxation. So have people connected with that still place within a little bit, that center. If not, just breathe a little more and just relax. The hands should be in a comfortable place. You should feel balanced and equilibrialized. Just relax. Right now I have my eyes closed. So where does one put one's attention? You could put your attention through your sight, through what you feel, very powerful, to put your intention inside your body to where there's tension or pain. And with your breath, you kind of relax those areas with your intention. Just you feel like you're breathing in where those areas are, and then you relax with your intent on these areas. I'll explain more about that in the future. But right now, we're going to put our intention on our hearing. So it's important to put the mind on something to focus on. It's called an object of meditation because it gives it something to sort of balance on in a way and to focus on so it doesn't go rambling everywhere. So as we breathe and we relax with our eyes closed, we're going to listen without thinking. We're just going to hear. So there's birds outside. I hear them chirping. It's early morning. They're very happy. I'm just going to hear their chirping sounds without trying to categorize what they are. What I mean by that sound is a bird. The bird is very happy. The sound is very beautiful. And when there's silence in between the chirps, I'm not saying now there's silence. So I'm not providing a narrative or any information regarding the sound. I try to just focus on receiving the sound. Do you see? Therefore, there's not a lot of mind going on. I'm not permitting my mind to do a lot. I'm just asking my mind to just listen. Do you see how it's a meditation practice? We've been working on the vision of our prayer space, our shrine, our altar, right? And that I ask the people just look at it without saying what these objects are or making any judgments about them or whether something should be moved or anything like that. So it becomes an anchor of sight, and now we're doing the anchor of hearing. Yes? So let's do that. Have a look at your posture. Be comfortable. And as you breathe in and out slowly, just relaxing, just listen without any judgment or analysis. So after a while, I found that my eyes just opened and I was very present in the space. So I was looking in front of me and also open to the sound. So now I have two anchors. The sound, what I see, without judgment, and I could hear the stillness of the room that I'm in as well. So it's cultivating a state of presence, of openness. It's an ultimate form of engagement in our space when we are truly present in our space. So let's spend a couple minutes doing that, like 5 minutes or so. Okay? Just relax, breathe, open. If there's any thoughts, just relax into them. Just let them go. They're not real. They're not necessary. You don't need to analyze everything. Just open and be. If you feel any tension, just breathe and relax. Take some breaths and just relax. could also put your intention to the freshness of the air coming in and out of your nose. That can also be sort of an anchor as well. The point is to be open and spacious and present. Feel any pain in your body, feel free to stretch, change position. But sometimes it's more of a stretch and you just need to work through it so your body's able to sort of move to the next stage of abilities to maintain postures. You have to gauge whether it's more of a pain that leads to tearing and damage, or whether it's more of a ache that breaks through to the next level. But there's nothing here to achieve through pain. So you relax, and you're relaxing, and it's okay to shift. Okay, so now that we've established, hopefully, a more sense of calm in our bodies and our minds in the space that we're in, now we're going to put our fingertips together and call in the name of God that we have been practicing with. I will use Yahweh, and we're going to say it, and then we're going to just relax there and see what you feel. See if there's any difference from the previous 7-8 minutes, and relax in that space now that we've called in the blessing. Fingertips together, center. Line up, deep breath, relax. Openness, open into your space. Relax the mind, relax the thoughts. Adjust the position of the hands so the heart chakra is activated. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. There's two ways you can go at this point. One, you say it a couple times or a couple dozen or for 30 minutes, 30 seconds or so, and then you relax into the space and you remain in the openness. Or you continually reciting them softly. So you do what you feel called to do or what you've been practicing. So let's practice together 15 minutes. doing more of a mantra type practice. So you can stop that now and bring your attention back to the room that you're in and be present in the sound, the sights, the feelings, and the smells that's in that space. And everyone can do that as well. Open to all your senses and just receive. Relax with your breath. Any tension you feel in your mind, just breathe in. Feel any tension in your skull, just relax with the out breath. Same with your body. It will calm the mind. Oh, put more emphasis on sight, your eyes, an open gaze, not particularly focused on one thing, sort of open, like an openness to the entire space. Your eyes become very aware and open. And you use a partial anchor of the other senses, but you're increasing your awareness of the space. Your eyes might open quite wide. Your neck might be exactly parallel to the floor, so you're looking straight in front of you and just open. you're able to sense the entire room. Just relax, breathe, exhale. Open your awareness, let it reach out by letting go. In the stillness, we become awake. Okay. So start taking deeper breaths through your nose. Start coming back into your body. Feel your body. Go slowly. Let the breaths feel your body. Put your gaze a little further down. Start putting your senses back into your body. Maybe touch your legs. Start moving a little slowly. And kind of come back into yourself. You could take a minute or two, just go very gently. We're sort of reassembling the energies that went out, kind of back into ourselves as we become more present back in our bodies. Very gently, you want to keep the calmness of the mind. So it's a light touch, just kind of coming back in. If you have a drink of water that's next to you, hopefully it's sort of at room temperature, just nice and easy. Go ahead and have a little stretch. Put out your legs. Reach across towards your toes very lightly. Feel your legs. Rub your hands over your legs on your body a little bit if you feel to. I always like putting my hands across my face, sort of massaging my face muscles, moving my neck. Yeah, nice crack, that's good. Cracks are good. Body might realign. Feel cracks up the spine as things relax. The spine holds a lot of tension. Well, how is that? Huh? So that space, which hopefully I've given most of you a taste of, if you've not already felt it in your practice, is the space that we try to sort of reach by not trying, right? Because we're relaxing into it. It should be no effort. It's the space that we're sort of, it's really not the right word, but working towards, but we're not working towards it. To try to attain, but it's not an attainment because there's nothing to attain. Because we're kind of relaxing back. And attaining something has a sense of reaching and holding to it, and it's a thing. I've attained it versus not attain it. Those are thoughts. We will relax into a space of awareness where the mind has no thoughts. There is no need to categorize and judge everything around us. We could simply live from a space of openness which has a lot of wisdom and guidance and awareness and a sense of what to do, what not to do. And sometimes we really can't articulate why we're doing something or not. But by trying this with the small things, we begin to realize it's sometimes very correct. We start getting guided by something greater than us. We're not sure if it's outside or within us. It's probably a little bit of both, or who knows, because we just feel it. For those who are religious, we call it the guidance of God. Christians would call it the Holy Spirit. People who are more spiritual, the universe. Whatever we choose to call it, it's really our birthright. And these techniques that I'm showing you are ways to tap into that. And it requires effort and time dedicated to releasing and having a deeper understanding of something other than what we're used to. As you can see, there are many different techniques, and I've only shared a few of them. And at the beginning, it's important to deepen with a couple that we feel called to do. You go in, I'm like, I'm going to do more of the mantra of the name of God today, or I'm going to do more of a couple names of God, and then sitting in presence. And one, at some point in their lives might be called more to one or the other, or one might, try a more traditional, which is at the beginning. Sort of call in the name of God, and then it's more of a shamatha awareness practice with anchors through sight, or the air through the nose is a very traditional one. The felt sense in the body, what you're hearing. And these are anchors to the mind that allows the mind to sort of have some input going into it, but we do not go into thoughts or analysis. And we just focus on the felt sense, or the visual sense, or the audio sense. And we learn to be aware in it and to relax. This allows the energy to travel up our spine. And we realize at some point we're aware of everything in the room, and we're able to feel the wall behind us and the space to the wall. And we feel that our awareness has expanded to the entire room, and we relax in that space. In traditional teachings, it's called training the mind. Our mind is, for most people, quite sloppy. A lot of thoughts, random, left, right, we're governed by impulses. People who tend to be the most successful have a very disciplined, focused mind. All the intellect and attention is focused on what's in front of them, and they're not easily distracted, and therefore they make better decisions. With this, it's similar. However, we're sort of relaxing into a deeper, more natural form of awareness, where we're cultivating certain perceptions and analysis that doesn't necessarily come from our knowledge or our intellect of the mind. We're tapping into a deeper knowing that transcends our linear thoughts into something much bigger. Wisdom with a capital W, that you necessarily can't always explain. But if you're aligned and you've done your work, that guidance, as you experiment with it, with the small, not so important things, until you realize that it is aligned properly, you realize there's a lot of wisdom to it, and it ends up being correct. But there's no way for you to have known it was going to be correct. And now you're tapping into higher consciousness forms of mind. In the chakra system, we're discussing the third eye, the crown chakra and above. And that's in alignment with God or the universe. So when you study texts or you ask for guidance, you're able to quickly tap in to a deeper knowing and asking for that guidance. And you kind of have a felt sense of which direction to go. And you're in more alignment with God or the universe. But it takes time to develop these skills and be patient. It gets deeper and deeper with time. But I hope you've all had a taste of it today. So I encourage you to please do this on your own. Just doing it with me occasionally is not enough. It's like weight training. You keep working at it and working at it and working at it. And then suddenly you're one of those buff people at the gym, and people are like, wow, how'd you get there? And they're like, technique, time, eating properly, being focused. And with time, they developed it. Same with us. So let's pray for each other and encourage each other. Doing these practices, if you feel particularly aligned, it's a good time to pray at the end or sometimes in the middle. It may seem sometimes, especially if you're doing this space practice, that you're not, praying to God. But you're cleaning your instrument, you're cleaning your antenna, you're cleaning your cable or phone wire, your connection. It's doing maintenance work and cleaning that openness that you're cultivating, the stillness of the mind, the opening of your awareness. It takes away a lot of the static for clearer understanding of our world, clearer seeing of our relationships and how to help them, clear connection with God and the divine guidance on what we should do with our lives, how to lead good lives. So when it's time for us to transition, there's no worry. We're going to a good place because we were in alignment. If one is religious, Adam and Eve fell out of alignment when they ate through the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They fell into duality. Higher vibrations, there's just presence. It's less dual. But the presence is always aligned with the good. If one is calibrated properly, we increase our vibration. If we look at our environmental issues, we are not in alignment. The planet's not in alignment. And now we see the consequences. And the same is with our lives. With a still mind, we have more bandwidth to be aware of our situations. With awareness of what's going on, I always say that is 80% of the way of, for lack of a better word, fixing it. If you aren't aware of it, how do you fix it? That doesn't mean the last 20% is easy, but at least you see where the problem is. It's like having an illness. You know something's off, but you don't focus on it. Well, you're not focused on it. So you don't see a doctor, you don't change your diet, and it keeps going on until it gets more serious, and then you focus on it and you realize, I have a problem. Great. Now you do something about it. Now, whether the last 20% is attainable at that point, who knows? But to be aware, to have awareness, to be awake. People speak about enlightenment. Well, those are the stages of awakenness, and they are different levels. Things are different in different stages of enlightenment as one starts to attain different vibrations and levels of awareness and ways of being and ways of being able to act in the world, some of which could be quite unusual and not normal. To be able to shift energies in the room is a lot of things. But the basic practice is developing the stability of your mind. And that is what I've been trying to achieve for these 3 months with you. So I encourage you again, please put in the time. Otherwise, these are just very interesting, fascinating things, but it's not going to do a lot for you. You will connect deeper with God, or deeper with the universe, deeper with your family, deeper with the beauty that's around you. Even if it's surrounded by difficulties, there's always something you could focus on and get that breath of fresh air. You're going to the store and you just see that flower and you're like, wow. And that wow of the beauty just shifts your day. And that is an example of the blessings that surround us. Oh, that one song in the radio that just makes you go, wow. It pops you back. And sometimes that's enough to sustain us. And ultimately your practice, and if you're religious, your connection with God can sustain through very difficult times where you just take it a day at a time. And you don't know when things will shift. But by taking it a day at a time and getting through that day to the next day, to the next day, well, you're moving forward. And your prayers, your meditation practice, things you do to try to connect to the sense of wholeness within you, even if there's a lot of external issues, that helps, gives us strength and hope. And at the very least, we feel a connection to something greater than ourselves. So I send you guys all my love and many blessings and much encouragement. And I wish you all a wonderful week. And I look forward to being with you all next Sunday.